IVM.
Hello and welcome to episode 121 of the Edges and Sledges Cricket Podcast. This is DJ, your host for the week, and I've got with me my co-podcaster Ashwin, all the way from Cincinnati. We have just witnessed the end of a fantastic match of Test cricket. It is the West Indies that has gone 1-0 up. It's the first game that we've had after the COVID interruption. And what a return to cricket it's been, Ashwin. How are you doing, man? Have you calmed down a little bit after that?
Yeah, I've sort of calmed down just a little bit. At the time of recording this, we're about 12, 15 minutes after West Indies hit the winning run. So just so excited, man. It just makes you remember and realize how important a part of life live cricket was and has been for so long. And it's actually surreal to think that we went, Varun was telling me, 118 days without any live international cricket. So super, super exciting. Honestly, I don't think I would have watched every ball of day 4 and 5 of an England-West Indies test. Otherwise, I would try to watch as much as I can, but just the amount of excitement at the return to cricket is amazing. I think everything went well. They managed to make it happen despite no crowds. The intensity was there. It ended in the final session of a 5th day. So all in, just incredibly, incredibly excited.
Yeah, but as usual, the start was a little bit rocky. And I mean, if you're playing cricket and you've decided to restart cricket in England, so who else but the rain made an appearance first up, right? So, it was actually almost reassuring in some ways to see that rain was actually the problem that cricket was having rather than the stuff that went on with COVID. But of course, we had a rainy restart to the game. And then I think what an emotional... I was watching live commentary and there was obviously the kind of quite an emotional outpouring by Mike Holding and Ebony about like the Black Lives Matter movement and all the issues that have gone along with it. And then there was, I think, one of the most powerful moments I have seen on a cricket field, at least, where the players took a knee before the game started. And that was, I mean, it kind of did make you have goosebumps, right? I don't know whether you managed to catch that, Ashwin. I know it was a little bit early for you in the day, probably.
Yeah, I didn't catch that live, unfortunately, but I did see some of the replays, and I obviously, we can talk about it, but I saw the Michael Holding clip where he was talking about it on Sky. So, I mean, honestly, just proud and happy as a fan of the game that cricket is doing this, encouraging it. I mean, all the scoreboards and all the graphics had a Black Lives Matter seal on them. So just nice to see that. I mean, I've been watching a lot of the English football that it returned a couple of weeks ago or soccer for our American fans. And it's nice to see the players making a stand because these are people who have a voice in society. They have an incredibly important role to play. And we've talked about this a lot on the show before, right? But cricket hasn't always been the best when it comes to racism. And so just the players getting out there, making their voices heard, taking a stand is awesome. And I'm glad to see it happen, and I hope it continues.
And it was great. I thought that both teams had Black Lives Matter on their collars as well. And you could see Michael Holding was extremely emotional, and he spoke later as well about how his parents had faced a lot of issues with the color of the skin of his dad and things. So you could tell he was emotional about it. It's obviously a very emotive subject. And it was good, as you say, to see cricket taking it so seriously. And I thought that was very important and a step in the right direction, even if it is a small step. Of course, let's get to the cricket, man. I mean, what a start we had. It's called the Raise the Bat series. And as one of our listeners wrote in, Uday Kiran, saying Dom Sibley took that a little bit literally when he left one from Shannon Gabriel to have his stumps rearranged, man. What a start that was.
It was incredible. I mean, I just love, obviously we'll get into it, but I'm just trying to count as we talk. Shannon Gabriel got 3 bowls in the England first innings and 1 LBW, and Holder kind of took the rest of the wicket. So it was just 4 and 6. Then in West Indies first innings, there were 2 balls. And then in the second innings, Shannon Gabriel got another 2 balls and Alzari Joseph got 1. So there's something about the sound of the leather ball hitting the timber and, you know, in some cases the stump flying out of the ground. It's just, that's what makes the magic of Test cricket for me. So obviously not great for Dom Sibley, made it, second over, I think it was, fourth ball of the second over, he got out. But just incredible start. What a return to cricket.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about the sound a little bit, man, because even the second wicket that fell, Joe Denley, you could hear the stumps flying all over and that really excited us as fans. But I think part of the reason you could hear the stumps flying was because there was no crowd. How did you deal with that, Ashwin? I mean, there were some really cracking shots that, I mean, I think Stokes was batting yesterday and he had a beautiful cover drive, and you usually expect applause, right, from the crowd, and there was nothing. And I struggled a little with that.
It is definitely a little bit awkward. I think if Varun was here, he would say, I've been watching on mute for as long as I can remember, so it didn't bother him. It definitely did bother me. It's different, right? Obviously, this is not me saying I wish the crowd was back. They're doing the right thing. They're doing the responsible thing, all that. But it is definitely different. And I imagine it's very different for the players too, right? I mean, West Indies needing 40, 50 odd runs with 4 wickets left would have been very different if the English crowd was out there cheering on Stokes, revving up Anderson, encouraging Archer to bowl that that extra bouncer even when his energy is fading. And so I think the quality and the intensity of the game was very high. Just something we have to get used to for at least the short term, that they're going to play in front of empty stadiums.
Particularly in the afternoon session, the English crowds, after having had some liquid courage, get quite rowdy. Myself not accepted, to be honest. But anyway, Ashwin, you spoke a little bit about Stokes and Holder. Obviously, they are the premier all-rounders in the world at the moment, probably along with Shakib Al Hasan being the other all-rounder. But Holder took 6 for in those conditions where Stokes had elected to bat. Stokes obviously captaining for the very first time in a test match, with Joe Root having to leave the bubble for the birth of his child. Holder taking 6, so he'd kind of cast the first die, right? And then he'd got Stokes out as well. And then Ben Stokes took 4 wickets in the West Indies innings. So England were bowled out for 204 in the first innings. The West Indies batted quite well. They got to 318, but Stokes took 4 wickets there, getting Holder out. So both captains exchanged wickets, and then Holder got Stokes out again in the third innings, being England's second innings. So Ashwin, which of those all-rounders has won that battle? And let's talk a little bit about Stokes v. Holder, I think, for a moment.
Yeah, outstanding battle, right? In the ICC Test all-rounder rankings, Holder is number 1 by quite a distance, I might add, and Stokes is number 2. Of course, Ravindra Jadeja is at number 3, so that tells you a lot too. But Holder and Stokes number 1 and 2, just an incredible battle, right? Both not only outstanding players and stalwarts of their generation, but very, very intense too, right? Like they bring it out in different ways on and off the field, but both very, very competitive cricketers. And so anyway, I absolutely loved seeing Jason Holder pick up 6 wickets in the first innings. Early on, Shannon Gabriel started, and then there was a little bit of a lull, I think. Yeah, when right after Ollie Pope got out, so when Butler and Stokes were batting, and then when Holder came back and got Stokes out, was just that. Then suddenly after that, I think they collapsed for another 50 runs or so, right? So really, really exciting to see. I would say this is a tough one because Holder didn't really contribute much with the bat because he didn't have to. I mean, he saw them over the line in the second innings. So I'd say just by virtue of not just 6 wickets in the first innings, 1 wicket in the second, and obviously captaining his team to victory at Southampton, I'd say Holder takes this one, although Stokes' contributions as an all-rounder on his own didn't go unnoticed. And I mean, something we can talk about is England's selection as well. But if Stokes is picking up 4 wickets for you in one innings, 2 in the next, then Anderson, Archer, Wood may not be your best 3 seamers, and to round that out, Bess as your spinners. So something to be said there. I know there was a lot of debate about Stuart Broad in particular, but it'll be interesting to see who shows up on the field next Thursday when England comes back out.
I absolutely love the fact that we're an Indian cricket podcast, but we followed a West Indies versus England game so closely. We know all the stuff about the
We were so excited.
It's insane. It's insane. I mean, we were talking about Stokes, right, while the game was on, and you were like, every time he gets the ball in his hand, something happens. He makes stuff happen. Remember, he got Kohli in Edgbaston with 50 runs to go and change that game completely. Here, he got Jermaine Blackwood out. He got Dowrich out as well, and you're just like, he just refuses to give up. So, I mean, Holder is ahead in the rankings. Of course, he's won today. It's the first time the West Indies have gone 1-0 up in England for 20 years. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. So, yeah, that's just a crazy stat. And I think Stokes is just fantastic. Unlucky for him to start his captaincy career in this way, but I'm sure he will bounce back and we will see that. But you spoke a little bit about the selection issues, right? And let's talk a little bit about that, because you had Tino Best actually questioning why Jofra Archer was playing after his display in the first innings. So, and you had Jofra actually reacting to that a little bit on Twitter, saying, why aren't you a coach if you know everything and you must live a miserable life, etc. So what did we make of that selection, Ashwin? Dropping Stuart Broad, who's one of the most successful opening bowling combinations ever.
Yeah, it's incredibly difficult, right? Like I could totally see why they made the decision. So two things. Let's take both those things. First, with Tino Best and Jofra Archer, super entertaining for us as fans. Tino obviously is pretty active on Twitter, does a lot of these kinds of things. I will say there's a part of me that wishes or thinks players shouldn't engage on social media during the 5 days. And I don't want to be old school and about discipline and this and that, but something tells me like on the evening of the third day, when you go back to the dressing room, you need to be so laser focused on getting in the mental state to go out there and bowl potentially another 15, 20 overs on day 4. And you're sitting there on tweeting about Tino Best being, why aren't you a coach yet? Right. So that's problematic. It's not great that former cricketers are egging on Archer, but Tino Best is retired. He's sitting at home watching the game as a fan. He has the right to say what he will. Something just about me rubs me the wrong way when Archer responded during the game. He could have been responding right now as the 5th day is over. But anyway, that just didn't rub me the right way. That said,
it fired him up, right? It did, because you saw Archer coming out in the 4th innings.
You're right. It did fire him up. Archer ended up picking up 3 excellent wickets in the 4th inning, bowling lots of bouncers, just hitting his length. His pace was up slightly. So, yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe it did work to fire him up. But I will say it's a tough call, right? For me, Archer and Wood are both in the team for that explosive pace. And Anderson is obviously your out-and-out kind of traditional seamer who leads the attack, if you will. And so I can see the argument that Broad and Anderson are both getting older. There's no room for both of them in the side. You want 2 kind of slightly younger bowlers who would just bring energy and bounce and pace, etc. But obviously when the result doesn't go your way, you're going to reconsider. So it'll be interesting to see if both Wood and Archer get a call up. I mean, Wood picked up 2 wickets in the total test match and Archer picked up 3, right? So arguably they both bowled okay, but the results weren't there.
Absolutely agree, but very interesting. So the West Indies was set 200 exactly to chase after England got to 314 in their second innings. There were a couple of nice 50s there from Dom Sibley. But I mean, the other weird thing that happened in this game was the umpiring, man. Ashwin, were the umpires just rusty? What was going on? There was a point at which the same batsman was given out 3 times, LBW.
It is unreal. I'm going to sit and go through the numbers, or somebody's probably done it already, right? But it is unreal how many decisions were overturned, right? I couldn't believe how many decisions were struck down for umpires. So that's the key for me, is just disappointing. I think you're probably right. They're a little bit rusty. I like that each team got the extra review. So each team had 3 reviews for this test match, and that you could see captains were a little bit more liberal using it. And in this case, it was rightly so, because they needed to be using it more. But really disappointing, honestly. And I don't know how to think about it, but the vast majority of the reviews went, or the decisions went against the West Indies, and the reviews were upheld to realize the decision was wrong. So that's never a good look, honestly. I wish it hadn't happened transparently. I mean, who were the umpires? Richard Kettleborough and Illingworth, right? So it's not a great look for them. Hopefully, the Richards. So hopefully they were just rusty, and everything will be back to normal. If not by the second match, then by the third. But disappointing, very, very low standard of umpiring.
Yeah, but even today you saw, right, there were a few. There was one from Chase and there was one more from, I think, Blackwood, which were umpires' call, but if they'd given them, they would have been out, right? So there was some that went, they were quite close, because the West Indies were 35 for 3, remember, with John Campbell in the hut as well, before Chase and Blackwood got together to do a little bit of a repair job. And if both of them had been given out, it would have been upheld, and that would have been absolute disaster. But speaking of which, I mean, the West Indies were set 200 to win, and they were 35 for 3, and they must have been like, here we go again, right? Is that what you felt? West Indies have dominated for large parts, taken a 100-run lead, and then they're going to lose again, right?
Yeah, partly West Indies, partly just 4th innings, right? Like even 200 can seem daunting in the 4th innings. Now, West Indies, it's worth noting, had never lost at some time period, I think it was, I don't remember the exact set, but haven't lost in a very, very long time when batting 4th in England, chasing less than 200, right? So pretty good track record there. Still 35 for 3, and by the way, Campbell was retired hurt. So it was essentially your number 6 batsman walked in at 35 for 3/4. And that was obviously Jermaine Blackwood, who's had a mixed kind of career, first class average of 33. He's played over 100 first class matches. So really well experienced, but needed to kind of step up and prove himself. And boy, did he do that, right? Put up an outstanding partnership first with Roston Chase, then with Shane Dowrich. Ended up making 95. Disappointing to see him hold it out to mid-off exactly the way he got out in the first innings, caught by Anderson at mid-off, got out the same way at 95. So you really, really have to believe that guy deserved his century. But I bet you haven't seen his interviews or anything yet, but I bet you he's feeling like, hey, my knock of 95 got my team the victory. I'm not worried about the century.
Absolutely. And, he's not got a blue tick on Twitter. So we've tweeted out that he should be getting verified on Twitter. Because, it was just one of those innings which I think he's going to remember it his entire life. It's a match-winning innings. There's no two ways about it. And it was such a great team performance. You could see the West Indies were not panicking, even at the end. They had the calm presence of Jason Holder there, and he kind of just knocked it into the gaps. And it was just, it was clinical, man. And this is a good West Indies team. They already beat England a couple of years ago, or was it last year? I can't remember. It seems like a long time since they played that series in the West Indies. But they are the current holders of the trophy between the West Indies and England. I think it's called the Wisden Trophy. Is it the Wisden Trophy?
It is, yeah. And but if it's a draw the series even, then West Indies holds it, right? So that means England is now sitting in the dressing room saying we have to win both in order to win back the trophy at home. So pretty amazing. It is also worth quickly noting that Darren Bravo and Shimron Hetmeyer both declined the tour, right? And it's hard to exactly say if they would have necessarily made the 11. I believe both probably would have, but to win without two big names like that on your playing 11 is also pretty incredible.
Yeah, and it was great. And I'm sure England will be sitting there and thinking how to bounce back. They haven't had the best of times in Test cricket, but they're still a good team, right? And they're one of the bigger teams. So I'm sure they will come back and we'll have a cracking series. But enough about England, West Indies. We are an Indian cricket podcast. Hopefully Indian cricket will be back on the horizon soon. But what we have done in the meantime is we have spoken to a very famous guest, Monty Panesar. He's the first Sikh to play for England. His first Test wicket was Sachin Tendulkar. He's got Virat Kohli out as well. Yeah, he's called the monster. He's just a fantastic character. We spoke to him a little bit about his career, his life, his struggles, his highs, his lows, and it's a really great interview. So guys, that's going to come up after this break. But stay tuned, and that interview will be straight after this break.
Hey everybody, welcome to another great week on the IVM Podcast Network. If you're not following us on social media, please do. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, as I'm sure you know by now. I would like to thank our sponsors this week, Paytm Money and Intel. They've been extraordinary sponsors and we couldn't appreciate them more. It's been a really, really cool week on the network. We've had Ashwin Sanghi on Cyrus Says. We had Masaba Gupta on Advertising is Dead. You should definitely check out Vivek Lath, who showed up on Storytellers and Story Sellers. A close friend and partner of ours, Karthik Parija, was on the Pragati podcast talking about the future of podcasting, which I think is really, really interesting. And I would like to ask people to check out All Things Policy and what they've been doing. They've been having some really interesting discussions about India's challenging relationship with China as we go forward. And I think that would be a great thing for you guys to check out. So with that, let's get you back to your show.
We've got with us a very, very, very special guest, Madhusudan Singh Panesar. You know him as Monty. He's also called the Sikh of Tweak, the Python. He's an absolute legend, and we are so delighted, Monty, that you're able to join us on the Edges and Sledges Cricket Podcast. Thank you for making the time.
Oh, thank you very much for having me on the show.
That's awesome. So Monty, obviously you were on the Cyrus Says podcast, and I listened to it recently. It was actually, and I counted this, it was 4 minutes and 27 seconds before your voice actually appeared on the interview, because Cyrus has a little bit of a way with words, and hopefully we can get you to speak a little bit more on this one.
Yeah, he was. I really enjoyed it. I thought he had a great character, really good energy. You can tell he's done this for quite a few times. 4 minutes, 5 minutes. I thought this was a Cyrus podcast show, and I was just there to sit there and listen. So
he's a bit like the Sachin Tendulkar of podcasting, of course. So let's get straight into it, Monty. Monty, you've played 50 test matches for England. You've taken 167 test wickets. But let's go back right to the start, right? I mean, you grew up in England. You played all your cricket in England. You played for England, obviously. But how did you get into cricket? How did you start off playing cricket? And I've read a little bit about this, but you started off as a left-arm seam bowler, right?
Yeah. I was at a club called Luton Town Indians, which were predominantly Gujarati people from Navsari. And it's funny enough, the government now is Gujarati as well. And they tell me everything about Narendra Modi. Gosh, everyone at my club loves Narendra Modi. They're like, yeah, Kemcho, Sarushe, Narendra Modi, bahut acha she. And they go, Hamari Gujarat ki state ko to and bahut strong kar diya Narendra Modi ne. So that's what they love. They love what Narendra Modi has done. Because at my club at Luton Town Indians, they're all Gujaratis. Hitu Nayak was my first coach. Deepak Parsut was my life coach. I had some good teammates, younger teammates who were with me, and they go, Narendra Modi bahut acha she. Narendra Modi ko salam hum karte she. So, it's funny how my Gujarati, background, I grew up with Gujaratis, and now the Prime Minister's Gujarati, and they can see what he's done to Gujarat. They go, wow, he's just changed Gujarat. He's just made it like unbelievable. Everyone should go to Gujarat now. It's such a strong state, which I never knew.
But you're originally from Punjab, though. So you grew up in England with Gujaratis with a Punjabi background, right? So playing for the Luton Indians.
My dad used to go to, all my dad mates, they used to go to the Vauxhall. We had a car factory here. So all the immigrants that were from India who wanted to come to England for a better life. And yeah, my dad, all his mates were Gujaratis. And I grew up with Gujaratis, love them. They're great people, really good at building. If you want a goal in life, that they know how to put things together.
Awesome.
I think they're just gifted businessmen, aren't they? Gujaratis, it's just what they do. So yeah, I've been brought up in the Gujarati community to play cricket.
Awesome. And how did you switch from being a left-arm seamer? Because was Wasim Akram your first role model? So is that why you went left-arm seam?
Well, that 92 World Cup, that over against Alan Lamb, Chris Lewis, I thought I want to become like Wasim Akram. That's it. I used to bowl round the wicket, over the wicket, loved it. But I couldn't get any quicker, couldn't get any quicker. So I ended up becoming a spin bowler where I remember Paul Taylor, who's a Northants professional, and he was at Bedfordshire Nets at Sandy College, north of Bedfordshire. And he said to me, look, Monty, you need to change to a spinner because you're not bowling that quick. So I started to bowl spin, and it was turning like pitch middle, hit top of off. It was bouncing, accuracy was there. He goes, just do that. He goes, that's so much better than fast bowling. So, that's my Messiah. People say you believe in God. Yes, my God is Paul Taylor. Thank you so much, for giving me that piece of advice, because I don't think I would have been, there wouldn't be no Monty Panesar, and I always, whenever I see him, I'm always like, this is my Messiah. So I don't know what you guys think, but I always thank Paul Taylor.
Incredible. But you were quite a quick spinner of the ball as well, weren't you? You weren't a kind of slow spinner, kind of slow through the air. Was that because you started off as a quick bowler?
No, because my fingers were long, so I was able to get the ball to go up and down quickly. So other spinners, they had to bowl it slower to get the revs and the turn. I could do it with a bit more pace and get the ball to go up and down because of my long fingers. And
interesting.
Yeah, that was what I found. Really,
because we got a question from one of our listeners, which was, did you ever consider slowing down your bowling speed? And do you think you could have varied your bowling speed? So Saurabh B had written them.
I learned how to slow at Sussex, bowled a bit slower at Sussex. So, yeah, you learn about the game in different conditions, and that's the beauty of our game. Certain players are really good under certain conditions, but they're not good at others. And then, you got to make a decision, how to improve my game more.
Yeah, awesome. And so you were obviously the first Sikh cricketer to play for England. You were also the first Sikh cricketer to play any Test cricket for any other nation other than India, of course. So you grew up, you said, with the Luton Indians. So, of course, you had a lot of Gujaratis in your team, etc. But as you moved through the ranks, and obviously this is very topical now with the with the Black Lives Matter movement and everything else that's come out recently. There was an interesting article by George Dobell on how black players face a lot of racism, institutional racism in English cricket, and I'm sure that the issue is the same all around the world. But did you have any issues on that front? Did you have any kind of racist incidents you suffered during your playing career for England or during the county circuit? And this is a question that's coming from Abhinav. And just to add on to that, Abhinav also asks, what advice would you give to up-and-coming spinner like Amar Virdi if you've seen him in action? So 2 questions. One, were there any racist incidents or racism against you while you were growing up and coming through the circuit with England or county circuit?
I think what we had a community World Cup when I was a youngster, and I remember Gordon Greenwich coming to Wardown Park, and it was Luton Indians, Luton Pakistanis, Luton England, and Luton Caribbean. And as a town, we had a lot of diversity. Cricket was a way where it doesn't matter what colour you were, everyone were together. So we experienced mixing with different cultures from a young age, and I was very lucky, that cricket taught me, to embrace everyone. I used to love playing against the Caribbeans. I was like, I'm going to get them out soon. They'll hit a few sixes, they'll chip one in the air. While the Luton Pakistanis, they would be like a bit more strategic. They'll be like, hit a 6, take a single, and that's how you kind of that was my familiar. That's how you connect with different communities through cricket, how they played their cricket. While, the English ones, British, England team, they'll knuckle down, not take any risks, but it'd be difficult to get a wicket. But if we can keep knuckling up, they weren't good against spin. We'll get the spinners on quick. So it was just, that's how we related through cricket. And then since I'll be honest with you, since I moved out of the game for the last couple of years, I'm still see if we can come back playing again. You kind of realise actually I was very lucky that I was just train, play, go to sleep, just that's all I did, to be honest, for the last 10, 15 years, and once you come out of it and that stops, you have a lot more time, you're like, wow, I've got so much more time. And you begin to realise that there's a lot more topics, a lot more issues in the world than what you think they are. Everything isn't cricket related. We all love the game of sport. So everyone who plays sport together, that's not how the real world is. That's because we have one common thing, which we love cricket. So that's why a black person would sit with a white person, white with a brown, have a laugh, embrace cultures. Because we're on the field together, we play against each other. We have something in common to talk about. And racism is never, you never think about it in a racial context. You always think of it, gosh, West Indian, tall, fast, Pakistani, a spinner, Indian spinner, English, good batsman. And that's it. But you don't like this issues that have come now with hashtag Black Lives Matter, hashtag All Lives Matter. It does open your eyes up and you kind of think, wow, there's actually a lot more out there in the world, issues that need to be addressed. And one simple example is, why aren't there enough black football managers? Football's a great way of, because it's so popular and so global, like certain issues, if they're in football, they're much bigger in the wider world. And a simple one is, there's a higher participation of black people between the ages of 18 to 25, 30 of black footballers, but between the age of 45 to 65, there's less people at senior management positions. Now, why is a huge difference? If you're gonna have people of all backgrounds participating in your sport, then at senior management level positions, you need to have that equal measure, because to sustain, the longevity of every ethnic minority, the next generation comes through, you need people at senior management that they look up to. And if there's certain players who become really good, they know that, right, my career isn't just after 30 as a footballer or cricket, whatever it is, I fall off. I'm not connected to the sport anymore, because when it comes to a senior management post, we only recruit X, Y, and Z. Then what ends up happening is then that's where the differences start taking place. Not in 10, 15 years. It's more like 2 or 3 decades for enough for it to take, to start to see the difference. Or else don't have any like participants in that sport. Let's say let's give you a simple example. 20% are black people, let's say in England playing cricket, 30% are Asians and 50% are white people, right? Let's say that's what it is. And senior management positions then, right? Directors of cricket, administration roles, all of these senior positions between, that age, there needs to be equal of 20% of black people, 30% of Asians, 50% of, English. But that's not the case. Do you understand? And because that's not the case, that's what hashtag Black Lives Matter it's able to identify these issues around every company.
So you're saying that the people that run cricket aren't...
No, not cricket. That's an example. No, that's an example. I'm saying it's everywhere.
Every sport.
Every sport, every company, everywhere. It's called institutional racism, which basically means my mates get the jobs and that's it. If I'm the CEO of a certain company, it'll be just the mates who'll get into the senior management positions because I like them and that we're like-minded, which is culturalism.
And they all look alike. That just happens to be.
Yeah, we all look alike. We're all the same. Great, we stick together. Yeah. And that's the issues are being highlighted. It's like there's this one-size-fits-all scheme, but and that's why the ethnic minorities are in different countries. This is not to do with class or racism. This is to do with education as well. If I'm educated, I get a chance. What if I don't have the opportunity to get educated? I may not get them positions, right?
So obviously, someone like Amar has a role model like you to look up to, right? So he's coming through the ranks. He's played under 19 cricket. But let's fast forward a little bit, or actually turn the clock back, perhaps. And go back to your debut for England. I mean, let's talk through that. Who gave you your cap, firstly? I'm not sure we've ever heard who gave you your test cap.
Yeah, Andrew Flintoff gave me my cap.
Ah, okay. Yeah. So he was your captain and he gave you the cap as well.
Yeah.
And I know you've spoken at length about the first test wicket. Well, let's do a minute on that wicket. I mean, you bowled the first day. You didn't take a wicket. And then, of course, the great man, the one that we all grew up watching, you probably grew up watching and worshipping as well, and you wrap him on the pads. What went through your mind at that moment?
Yeah, like with any cricketer, your natural instincts come into play. So you just he wrapped you on your pads, you turn around, you appeal, and I went off running.
Was that the fastest you've ever run, Monty? Was that the fastest you've ever run?
I think Alim Dar did me a favour. He thought, you know what? I'm a Pakistani umpire and I could get one on the Indians right now. I'll get one up on them, by giving Monty Panesar the wicket, who's an Indian, and to get Sachin Tendulkar out, who's the greatest, commodity, let's say, the greatest human being, ever, that's how everyone, treats Sachin in India. Rightly so, what he's done for the game. But that's tongue in cheek, but I think the real thing is I never used to celebrate like that. And it just, I don't know why I celebrated like that, I think it's to do with like Tendulkar, the man, and it's more, for me to celebrate that, it's more a reflection on him, of how great he is. And
it's also the reaction of every kid that's ever dreamt of bowling for Sachin, and actually it's a dream. Like you would have been growing up watching this guy. You said the 92 World Cup. He played in the 92 World Cup.
Yeah.
He was a young man playing that, and you've watched him your entire life. And suddenly one day you made your dream debut.
Yeah.
You bowled that ball to him and you've wrapped him on those huge pads, and it's absolutely plumb. I don't think he would have got away with DRS or anything. I mean, Kohli would have 100% reviewed that. But that was absolutely out. And I think the joy that came out from you is a reflection of every kid that grew up in that era. Honestly, it was just like if Varun had got him out, he would have gone exactly the same way.
I guess you're right. I guess that I think because of that celebration, it's a really interesting point which you've raised. I think that's why all fans connect with me, because you're right. It's every kid's dream. It's every person who's watching as a sports fan to think, well, that's my dream come true. And if I took the wicket of Sachin, that's how I would celebrate. And I think that's why people connect with me. maybe that's the reason. Like, I never knew why am I so popular? Why I have such a huge fan following? Why I get recognised all the time because I'm just doing, and I played cricket. I'll be honest with you, I haven't played international cricket for a long time, but the popularity is always the same. I always question myself. I think, when is it going to die down? When are people going to say, walk past me and they're like,
who's
that's
that
it.
guy?
Oh, that's
Who's
Monty.
that guy?
Who's that? Who's that guy? It's not like that. And it was because of that moment, I believe so. I celebrated like every other fan would if they were in the same position. Yeah. I think I found the answer of why I'm so popular.
And we're glad you found it on this podcast. Varun, do you have a question for Monty, just to follow up on that?
Yeah, Monty, I just wanted to ask, and by the way, I'm watching your YouTube video now of your celebration. It was just fantastic. But I wanted to ask, who were the toughest batsmen that you had to bowl to, right, over your career?
I think Graham Smith was tough. He averaged 80 against left-arm spin, and I wasn't thinking against him too heavily. I wish I was more of a thinking cricketer. I would have got him out a lot quicker. And it was one of my downfalls as well. You know, I relied too much on my stock delivery because it was such a good delivery that I was able to get batsmen out just bowling the stock delivery. But, you know, good players after a couple of years worked out that all he does is just bowls the same delivery. And thanks to Shane Warne for mentioning that in the papers, that he highlighted my point even further. I was standing out like a sore thumb. It's like, oh, Monty's he's played 33 test matches the same way, which means just bowls, you know, stock delivery. And I wish he never said that, because I could have played loads of more test matches. You know, could have just bowled the stock delivery and ended up playing 100 test matches. But, you know, that's life, you know. So.
Were you quoted in the papers at one point to say they're coming up with the left-hand version of the Dusra, Monty? Was that a reaction to Warnie, or was that before?
I think I tried to bowl it. I tried to also learn from Warnie, you know. He only had like 3 balls, but he told everyone he had 20. Right? And same thing with me. I said, I've got a left-hand Dusra coming. No one else is doing it. Might as well do what Warnie does.
Yeah, so
I've got 5 other deliveries and then keep bowling the same ball.
I think we've got the quote image for this episode, which is Warnie, the man with 3 balls. But let's move on. So you also, Monty, got Rahul Dravid out. So if people thought that the Tendulkar wicket was a fluke, in the same test match, in the second innings, you got the other great man out, Rahul Dravid. So,
and DJ, wasn't Dravid just voted ahead of Tendulkar in a Wisden Best Indian Test Batsman survey?
Well, I don't know. Was he?
Well, I think, like Tendulkar.
I haven't followed that.
Rahul Dravid is very, very quiet person. You feel like he doesn't speak much. Well, when he does speak, he speaks very sort of quietly, and in a way you kind of forget. I don't know why we forget about Rahul Dravid and everyone focuses on Tendulkar. I remember taking his wicket, but why doesn't he have the same feeling? It's probably a better ball as well. But why the feeling of getting Tendulkar out more than getting Rahul Dravid out with a better ball? And it's always like that. I don't know. Is it to do with Dravid, the man? Is he just a very, very humble guy, a very quiet, you know? If I had 10,000, 12,000 test runs, I think I'll tell everyone about it before, you know, everyone need to know. Do you know how many test runs I got?
No,
Well, you need to know. I've got 12,000 test runs. And my name's Rahul Dravid. I'll introduce myself with my statistics, and then my name is Rahul Dravid.
Incredible. So let's wrap the Dravid and Tendulkar discussion up, because we have another question from Karthik O at KO Cricket, which is, give us a word about how it felt to get both Sachin and Dravid out in your debut test. But one word. Let's go with one word, Monty.
Just magic.
Magic, Monty. That's it. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. So Monty, obviously that went really well for you. It was a great start to your career. You got those wickets, and it was amazing. But let's talk a little bit about the catch that went down, the Dhoni catch, because that was the other iconic moment from that test match, wasn't it? Or was it later in the series? Was it the third test match where?
I think this is what it is. I produced these unbelievable moments in one test match, And then I'm playing another test match and I'm trying to see the ball and I completely miss it 10 meters away from me. And 2 balls later, I catch him.
Yeah.
Now, imagine as a fan.
That's it. That's why it sticks in the
emotions
mind.
that you go through. Like you'll think, actually, I want to watch Monty every day.
Yes, absolutely. And we have missed it, Monty. Make no mistake about it. We have really missed it. We really enjoyed watching you play. I mean, the moments you gave us were just absolutely brilliant. And I know we've talked about your bowling, which was your main suit. We've talked a little bit about your fielding, but I think we should probably move on from that a little bit to your batting, Monty. You've scored, I think, 26 against Sri Lanka, including a 6 off Muralitharan once. How did that feel?
I felt great. He looked at me and...
Did you read him out of the hand?
Yeah. Duncan Fletcher said to me, if you can't read it, sweep it. I was halfway through and I thought, oh yeah, Duncan. I was like, I can't read this. And I remember Duncan telling me to sweep it. So I just swept it, closed my eyes and I just swept it and it went for 6.
Incredible. I think that is the greatest shot you've played in your in your career. But you also, the other thing that sticks in our minds with the bat, Monty, is that Ashes saving innings you and Jimmy Anderson played together. Talk us through that last, was it 11 overs that you guys batted against Ponting's Australians in 2009, which again changed that entire series and the dynamic because it was the first test.
Yeah, like that was such a big thing for us because I didn't bowl well in that test match at all. I bowled terrible. Like my figures were 33 overs for 100 runs. It should have been like 33 overs for 180, you know. That's how badly I bowled in that game. But then when I came out to bat, it was funny enough, that was my last home test match. I never played a home test match after that. So in a way, it's a nice way to say that my last home test match was at Cardiff and probably the greatest cricketer we've ever produced with Jimmy Anderson. So I think that pleases me a lot. But it was just, I thought I'm going to get out anyway. It doesn't really matter. And we just took it ball by ball. And I think that's when you look at something like that, and I look at it now, and I think actually, it's funny. It's like people say, oh, this task is impossible or I can't do this. Everything's possible. I believe anything is possible in life if you're willing to just take the steps. And we just went ball by ball. Each ball was just a step at a time. Just focus on the next ball. Like, for me, when I look at it, I think to myself, right, if tomorrow I want to become, let's say, an actor in Hollywood or Bollywood, which obviously I'm going to because that's one of my goals in life as well, I'm going to just take the step. Sorry,
is it Hollywood or Bollywood?
Well, we're going to go Hollywood first, and then Bollywood ask me, because when they see me go big in Hollywood, they're like, we need Monty in Bollywood now.
That's it.
So I'll get Bollywood to call me, rather the other way around.
That's it. I love it. Who's going to be the leading lady? Be a Hollywood blockbuster.
With my Bollywood blockbuster, look, I'm sure there'll be so many lined up to want to act with me.
Why stop at one?
I think the most talented actress I've come across when I watch movies. When I watch movies, I watch them on like, wow, this person makes you really feel like that person is that character. You understand? And that is what acting's all about. But some people are good at it. Some people are not good. I tell you who's really good, man. Deepika, what's her name?
Padukone.
Yeah. I call her Deepika Patowdy. I don't know why. Deepika Patowdy. If I ever see her, I'm just going to call her hi Deepika. And I'm not even going to say it's the name because I can't pronounce it. I think she's so talented as an actress. Very talented. Have you seen everything she does and how she acts?
And she's a big mental health advocate as well. So we'll come to that later because we would like to talk to you about that stuff as well. But just back to that partnership at Cardiff, Monty. Were you quite nervous towards the end? Because at the beginning you would have been like,
no,
let's see where we go to. No, not at all.
I was literally went in the expectation, I'm going to get out any ball. Just watch the ball. Just watch the ball. That's it.
Incredible. Watch the ball, guys. So watch this space because we're going to be back straight after this break. We're going to talk lots more with Monty about his tour down in India in 2012. And so stay tuned and we'll see you straight after this break.
Sachin Tendulkar, Virat Kohli, Don Bradman, and now Cyrus Brocha. Okay, probably not in the right company. I mean, Don Badminton is Australian. But it's called Cyrus Says, a wonderful show about everything. Find the show on the IVM Podcast app, ivmpodcast.com, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Welcome back from that break, and we're still in conversation with Monty Panesar. We've had some really interesting conversations. We've kind of reached the meat of the show, really, because while we remember Monty for his test wicket and those celebrations and the innings at Cardiff, where he made his name was on that 2012 tour of India, Monty, because we spoke to Nick Compton previously on the show, and it was the revenge tour where India had been beaten, 4-0 in 2011, and it was all about spin, and we're going to spin them out on these tracks, and it all started off quite nicely. I mean, India, Pujara scored double 100 in Ahmedabad and then went to Mumbai, and that's where everything just turned around, Monty. So tell us about, we've had a few questions actually from our listeners about this. And it's from Suraj Rai. He says, ask Monty about his experience of playing test matches against India and managing to beat India 2-1 in 2012, in which you bowled some of your best overs. No English side has been able to do that in the last 2 decades. Even Australia couldn't repeat that 2004 performance. Aditya Agarwal asked as well, only 2 teams have beaten India at home since 2000. How does Monty rate his contribution in that win, and does it rank among his top career highlights? That's probably a really good question from Aditya Agarwal, so maybe we can start from that.
Yeah, look, I was very pleased the way I bowled in Mumbai, got 10 wickets. It was just, how do I say it? I think we just bowled with a better... You know what, if India won the toss, I'm sure India would have won that, but we won the toss. It was so crucial who wins the toss. And yeah, I don't think in that series, Harbhajan Singh or Pranga Ojha, I don't think they were at their best. I think they didn't bowl that well. They didn't bowl with pace. Ashwin was all right. They played with 3 spinners, but I just don't think they were bowling at their best. And you could tell that, just their body language. You know, they just, it doesn't seem like how they bowl. But we just bowled with a better pace, bowled quicker. And, we just bowled, a lot better. And Kevin Peterson, he scored quickly. That's the key. You need batters in India to score quickly to set up the game. And he did that magnificently, really well. Yeah, so there's a lot of things need to go in your favour. The toss went in our favour. Ranji Trophy pitch. Duncan Fletcher thought, let's produce a Turner. So, and it kind of played in our hands, really.
Yeah, incredible. And what was it like bowling with Graham Swan? Because he was your partner in crime, right? And
yeah, we both.
Monty doesn't get you Swanee well.
We both dovetailed against each other really well, and I think that's what it was. We played. We had such a good partnership. We knew how to bowl on turning pitches. We played at Southampton. Balls were turning all the time, so it was like we knew what we were doing, rather than. Some people that they're put into a situation under certain conditions, and you think, well, this is the best team for these conditions, and you don't end up doesn't working out. But we knew we were good to do this, and we helped each other. We were good together. So yeah, I really enjoyed bowling with Graham Swan.
Very interesting. It's interesting you mentioned Northampton actually, because we have a couple of questions about your county. One of which was. About Saurav Ganguly. And he played for Northamptonshire when he had a county stint there in 2006. This is coming from Shankar at Shankar Stake. Do you remember that stint with the Prince of Calcutta moving to the cold climate of England? How was that?
Yeah, I remember that. And he was very good. His captaincy, leadership was fit like a glove to him. Perfect. He's just born to be a leader. When I was there, it's his presence, it's his demeanour. 2020 match, he goes to me, Monty, all I need is your 4 overs to go well. We will win this match. And that's how he worked the team around. The way he did things and the way he put things together. He's a natural leader. More of a natural leader than a natural cricketer. Just a natural leader, and you can see that. I instantly wow, how simple is this? I just said, I'm going to bowl my 4 overs really well. And most of the time we end up winning the game.
Brilliant. And I think that's a consistent theme. Anyone who's played under sort of captaincy has said that he backs his players, and he's backed Yuvraj, Bhaji, all of these guys. And this sounds like exactly what those guys say as well. So that's awesome to hear. The other question that we have about Northamptonshire is from Jeffrey Femboycott at the rate of Gwennim. And they ask, you play there, we'd like to ask you about the domestic structure in England. It's a wonderful club and ground, but one of the smaller counties which would have its status diminished if the English domestic red ball game was reduced to 8 or 10 elite teams. On the other hand, 8 or 10 elite teams may actually help the red ball game survive and ensure the strength of the English test team. So is the trade-off worth making, in your opinion?
Well, the problem is we have a membership scheme here as well, and there's a lot of old traditional members. There's cricket enthusiasts who won't break from tradition. And that's been one of the challenges in the British culture. You know, certain things are just kept because we like our tradition. And this is one of them. You know, we like our 18 counties. We may produce great cricketers. Next year, we're going to go back to having 2 overseas, every county. And I think what it does is, like, if we start playing around with the counties, I think what it does is that tradition of cricket, you know, during the summer being very popular. I think we will see, like, at grassroots levels, certain counties, cricket dying out in certain counties, and the test playing venues is where, you know, the cricket will be very sort of, in them venues, a lot of cricket will be very popular. And we don't need that, because the future of the game is always at grassroots levels. So I think that they will have to keep the 18 counties. They have to keep it going to keep the interest in grassroots levels. And also the other thing I found was, like, when I played in the Essex League, which was Hornchurch and Shenfield, it was really strong league because Essex won the 4-day championship. So it doesn't necessarily mean 1 year you will have a test playing venue winning. There could be a non-test playing venue winning a few trophies. And cricket, club cricket in that region naturally gets a lot stronger. So I think there's so much to be said about 18 counties. We keep the 18 counties. And look, you look at naturally, when you look at the test team, you always say, well, how many of the team are from test playing grounds? How many are from non-test playing grounds? And the general consensus is that they tend to have test playing, more players from test playing grounds. And any players who, you know, want to better chances of playing for England, they always say go and play for a test playing ground. And that's what they tend to do. Unless you go to a county that's very successful as well. You know, I went to Sussex, we're very successful, and there's some successful. But generally, if you're a young cricketer and you're very successful and a test playing ground comes and says, we want to give you a contract, I think you should take it, because I think it's very important. So for me, look, participation rates are important. So we need to keep the 18 counties for that reason. And secondly, if there's a young cricketer who wants to play for England and is playing for a non-test playing ground, if he's good enough, he will go to a test playing ground and then in a few years' time get selected. So I think England will go back. England will always, you know, remain like that.
Incredible. Monty, thanks for the answer to that question. I think it's very interesting for our listeners interested in county cricket as well, because we just spoke to Josh Boysden, who's obviously a county cricketer. But let's move on to sledging, because we are called edges and sledges, Monty, and you must have heard some brilliant sledges in your time as a cricketer. Can you talk us through some of the sledges? If they aren't fit for consumption, we can edit them out, but I think you can... We can definitely bleep the relevant words.
Yeah, throughout my career, I didn't really come across, you know, much sledging, as I would, you know, say. But I've always heard the stories of sledging, you know, and I do find them very funny, incredibly funny. But I don't really have a particular story that I sledged anyone. You know, I don't think I knew how to sledge people, and you know, you got to be quite witty, you know, to sledge someone. I probably, you know, just didn't I didn't really use sledging as a tool to get someone out. I would probably use my skill, you know, body language, or walking past the batsman, or try and hear them. I'll purposely play little games. I think I was more of a trying to play these games with the batsman. I was that type of cricketer where I would purposely, if someone's running a single, I will purposely get in the way and make them run outside the pitch, right? and then try and get them run out, and then they'll get really grumpy, and then you apologise, but meaning well that I'm doing it to get them run out, right? And then the other times where I remember saying it to an umpire, I said, "How was that?" And then I said, "Is it missing middle?"
Ooh, nice.
And he didn't like that at all. Didn't like that.
Nice.
He didn't like that comment at all.
What are your thoughts on the Munkard, Monty? You spoke about a run out. So would you Munkard a non-striker if he was backing up too far?
Yeah. Why is he one or two warnings? Run him out.
You're going to give him 2 warnings. 2.
I'll give him 1 or 2 warnings. Yeah, and then the third time, if I see it, then you're out.
So it's like baseball: 3 strikes and you're out.
Absolutely, because a batsman if a batsman's quick enough between the wickets, he doesn't need to back so much down.
Yeah, nice.
And if you're going to take little advantages like that, and it could be a difference between winning and losing a game, or a quick single where there isn't a quick single, I'm going to get you run out.
Okay, great. So we know your position: 3 strikes and you're out. But Monty, you're not a sledger, but you've heard the sledging stories. Who was the best sledger that you played with? And tell us the story that you heard. Because obviously your friend Flintoff was Mind the Windows.
We would say, right, will be something like indirect sledging. It'll be like, here he is, this great batsman. Or, have you seen his videos, clips? Yeah, he was good, wasn't he? Yeah, this is the guy who's coming out to bat now. And then you'll play and miss. He goes, nah, this is not the guy. This is someone else. This is not him. We saw him. We saw him on the YouTube videos, and that's not him. This is not how he bats. This is someone else. Who is this guy, by the way? Let's get the real guy out. And things like that, and play and miss again, or not hit a drive. And, like speaking a third language to the player. That was a lot of fun. I had really enjoyed that. And we were all chip in as a team. We were like, "Oh, Monty, that's one of your drives. I think this guy bats like you. This is not the real, batsman, whoever it is, X, Y, and Z." And I really enjoyed that because it got the whole team involved. And eventually you end up getting, and when you got a wicket, it was even more fun. And we're like, "Oh, we talked him out of it, didn't we?" Yeah. Second innings, you'll see that we see the real batsman in the second innings.
Yeah.
So fun stuff like that.
Can I ask you, did you say anything to Inzamam after he fell onto his stumps off your bowling?
I didn't really say anything to Inzamam. I think for me, even after Sachin Tendulkar, Rahul Dravid, I was like, Inzamam's the next greatest, player of spin bowling. And he gave me a really good compliment. He goes, I can't score against you. Come down the wicket, I can't hit you. I can't get you off strike. You're really good.
Did you?
He's good in everything. This was Inzamam, one of the greats. So compliments like that, I really enjoyed. That kind of stuff, I think I enjoyed a lot when top greats gave me compliments like that.
Now, did you plan that hit wicket dismissal at all? Because, it was pure comedy. That's another comedy. Great.
Sometimes I think, did you do it purposely? You just never know.
So that question is actually coming from a listener called Ascending Soul. But Monty, let's move on to a little bit more serious topic. We've talked through the cricket and we've talked through the success and the highs and the funny bits and stuff. But of course, there's a more serious element to all of this. You were one of the cricketers that practiced the hardest. All your coaches and your captains, I think Michael Vaughan as well, has said Monty was in first in the nets and he was the last one to leave. And it's the amount of work you put in and all of that. I know, Varun, you recently spoke to Guy Walker, who talked about his mental health issues, having come down with injury. We talked to Nick Compton, who has had his own troubles with depression. We spoke about Deepika Padukone recently, a little while ago, on her issues with depression. So, well, maybe we had a listener question come in on this point, so maybe we can just talk through that now.
Yeah, so Monty, it'll be great to hear a little bit more. Like I said, spoke to a guy called Guy Walker in Australia. His career ended at 24 because of injuries, and he's now working with an organization called Tackle Your Feelings, and talked about Glenn Maxwell, how important it was for somebody like him to come out and speak. So I guess we have two questions, right? One is, how important is the issue today, and what can cricketers do more, so that others feel that they're welcomed to talk about this topic. And we also had a listener question from Shrikar, who said if you can ask him how he battled with it and the means he chose to come out of it, right? So if you could help us to just understand and talk through a little bit about that.
Yeah, look, it's a very difficult subject to talk about because everyone has their own journeys in a different way. Now, I was lucky that my parents, they spoke to some family friends. They go, look, Monty isn't, how Monty is. I think he needs to speak to someone, in a medical profession. So we, Lady Singh, which is Lord Singh's wife, mum, good friend with her. Her son-in-law is Dr. Bal, who's a medical doctor. And he goes, why don't you go and see him? He's a similar age to you, and just have a chat to him. And I chat to him. And I think he realised he's not well, and he immediately booked me an appointment with a psychiatrist. So some people, I was lucky that I had a bit of guidance, a bit of direction before things got worse. But there's others who don't, There's a lot of cases I've come across where the parents just don't know where to go for help, or they don't know what to do. They don't have the friend circle to help them. They're the ones where I want hopefully my story can help, And I'm a great believer that you must speak. You must speak how you feel. You must speak about your thoughts. You must have some room for silliness, have some fun with your family members, your friends and everyone, because that's a sign of good mental health as well. So I'm a great believer that if you haven't got 5 people that you can speak to when you're in a difficult time, it shows that your relationships are not good with your friends or family, that you need to work on them. So we, as a South Asian community, doesn't matter wherever we are in the world, we are very good at gaining capital wealth, financial wealth. We're very good at making money, and we consume so much time in gathering cash, and we compensate our mental health, our social circle. And when things go bad, you can feel alone. And loneliness is a breeding ground of mental health issues. So my advice would be, even when you're on that gravy train and you're having a great time, you're like, wow, this is really good time, The Indian gods or the Sikh gods are blessing me, and everyone goes to the god, to the temple, to the Gurdwara when times are good, and, thank you so much for great business. Make time for your friends as well, relationships. Ring them up. How you doing? What's going on? Did you see the result? Liverpool won the league. Gosh, thank God they won the league, because no one was there to watch them to win the league, That sort of fun stuff.
For the first time, yeah.
Yeah, that's the kind of fun stuff, right? People should do that, because in 2 years' time, I'm not ringing up that mate about football calls. I'm not going down to the pub. I'm not talking about common things that I have with each of my friends. It's like, he hasn't rang this week and Liverpool have won. Normally he rings us up when Liverpool win. Or Arsenal have won. Or blah, blah, blah. Second week gone. I haven't heard from him. I'll give him a call. What's going on? Oh, I don't know, man. I don't want to get out of the house, blah, 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 whatever, right? You go and see your friend. But that is what people should invest time in, is within their friend circle, is to have healthy friendships. Not a healthy bank balance, a healthy friendship. But money will always come. Money always comes to everyone. If you're South Asian, money always comes. I don't know what it is. Our Hindu or Sikh gods, man, they blessed us with money, and money always comes, right? But please, make time for relationships within your friends and family. Just ring them up and ask them, "Aap kaise ho?" Or talk to them, "How are you?" Very, very important.
Awesome. Thanks, Monty. I mean, that's great advice. You don't hear that often, right? Especially South Asian kids growing up, you're always told you need to study, you need to make money, and
study, make money, then do a half an hour call to your friend.
Absolutely.
Have a conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's kind of the 3 of us do this podcast, right? It's a good way for us to talk to each other every week. And we talk more nonsense than serious stuff, but yeah, it's a good way to check in.
That's it.
Yeah, it's brilliant. Monty, so obviously you've now taken a bit of a break from cricket. You retired, I think, a couple of years ago, but there's a rumour...
I haven't retired, so I'm going to
say... Not officially. Yeah. Agreed. Absolutely right. And that's what I was coming to. We got a question from the Phenomenal Prodigy on Instagram, and there was a rumour you were going to play Ranji Trophy cricket, Monty. How is that going to come about? Because are foreigners allowed to play? Because you probably hold a British passport, but an OCI, I suppose.
No, I don't have an OCI, but I don't think foreigners are allowed to play. So, yeah, there's an opportunity there.
Okay. But what about a comeback for a county or or maybe even an England comeback? Because I know you mentioned it on Cyrus's show.
I'd love to make a comeback in England, or I'd love to make a county cricket comeback. I would absolutely love that. So, yeah, that's something I will keep pushing and keep pushing forward.
Are you in training at the moment? Are you going out to the nets and just bowling hour after hour, or how are you working on your fitness and stuff? And this comes to your Monty channel. I think these sofa videos have been going viral. So 2 questions: are you working on your fitness at home, and how did you get out from under that sofa after you finished that video?
Yeah, I just do loads of fitness videos, keep myself fit, keep myself going. If I keep myself fit, there's a chance of making a comeback, and also keeps me fit. Look, once you're retired, you're a long time retired, so I'm trying to delay that as long as possible and see if I can make a comeback in cricket.
Monty, you haven't answered how you got out from under the sofa after doing leg presses.
Well, I had strong legs, so for that reason I was able to do it. But look, for me, I do fun videos. I find fun videos is a way of connecting with my fans. And I started to do, and people loved it.
It's fantastic. I love the Monty channel. It's great.
Thank you.
It is absolutely fantastic. So, Monty, this has been an amazing chat with you. I mean, thank you so much for making the time. I know you talked a lot of cricket with Cyrus, so we thought we'd bring some of the comedy onto our show, which is more usually more cricket focused. But it's been absolutely brilliant. Thank you for being so open with us about everything, about your thoughts on cricket, your career. And please do let our listeners know where they can find your book, because I know you've written a book called The Full Monty. So where can they buy it, and where they can find you on the various social media channels?
Yeah, I have you can go on Amazon to get my book. You can catch me on Twitter at Monty Panesar, Monty Channel at Monty Channel on Twitter, Instagram at Monty Panesar as well. Facebook the same. So if anybody wants to get in touch with me, get in touch. Snapchat as well. So yeah, just get in touch. I'm happy to help in any way, or if you need my help, just give me a message and I'll see if I can be of any assistance.
Absolutely brilliant. And you might not remember it, but we do remember it. We actually bumped into you at Lord's a couple of years ago while Nasser Hussain was taking us around the place. I think you were in the nets and you were fairly busy, but you kindly posed for a selfie with us, which we will post as well. But Monty, thanks again, and good luck with everything. We look forward to seeing you on broadcasting, playing, keeping everyone entertained on Monty Channel as well. So good luck with all of that, and hopefully we will see you soon.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me, and look forward to chatting to you again soon.
Cheers, Monty. Thank you. That's the interview with Monty, guys. A really interesting interview. And as usual, do write in with your thoughts on One Tip One Hand on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. We're at contact@onetiponehand.com. And leave us a review. Leave us a rating. It always helps putting the word out there. Tell your friends about us. Tell your colleagues. Tell your co-workers. Tell your family. I mean, everybody likes cricket, right? And cricket's back. It's live. We're loving it. I'm sure you guys are all following it. And we will be back next week with yet another episode of the Edges and Sledges Cricket Podcast. See you then.
रिश्ते में तो हम तुम्हारे पॉडकास्ट लगते हैं. नाम है फुटबॉल शुटबॉल.
Presenting Football Shortball, a show about 3 friends discussing our favorite game over a beer. Sometimes 3, maybe even 5. Hi, I'm Shiva, and with me are my 2 sidekicks, Gaurav Sapre and Karthik Iyer.
Sidekick? You mean like Batman's Robin or Van Persie Robin?
No, I mean like Alexis Sanchez, but with a little more skill than just playing the piano.
Just shows how the best players at Arsenal are mere bench warmers at United.
Oh, thank you, Iyer. But you're a Fulham supporter, so whenever you say anything to support me, I question my beliefs.
Just like how Griezmann would say, एक बार मैंने जो decision ले लिया, तो मैं अपने आप की भी नहीं सुनता.
Banter aside, we will talk match reports, transfer rumours, top controversies, fantasy football picks, and so much more. So grab a beer and tune in to Football Shootball every Wednesday on the IVM Podcast app, website, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hi, my name is Anupam Gupta. I'm B50 on Twitter. I am the host of Paisa Vaisa, a show that talks money. On my show, I speak to experts from every field of money and finance, from stock markets, equities, debt funds, credit cards, life insurance, every possible area of money and finance that you can think of. We even did an episode on cryptocurrency. I've got fantastic guests from mutual funds to personal finance experts everywhere. Robo-advisory, startups, just name it, we've got it. At Paisa Vaisa, we help you make smart decisions about money. You work hard for money. Now make your money work hard for you. New episodes out every Monday, and you can listen to my show on the IVM Podcast app or any other podcasting app that you have.